We're back again. It's your guy, Rhett Butler. The Gateway CDC is delivering with these webinars, and I told y'all I got the best guest, and today's no different. I'm sitting here with I'm gonna call him my Cody. We're gonna take it to that level. This is my people's right here, and it's an honor for me to bring her knowledge, her expertise, because she's completely a subject matter expert in the world of art and the power of saying what and oh. And I'm not talking New Orleans, baby. I'm talking about no. She know how to tell you when to use that powerful word. I wouldn't know none other than Keiona Clark, founder, CEO, DMV League of Artists, and one of the finest artists this region's ever seen. Keiona, what's up, shorty?
Hey, what's going on? First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you, the Rhett Butler.
Okay. We outside. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is awesome for me because I kind of feel like we're giving the world a treat. They're gonna ear hustle two friends just having a conversation because we get down like that. But you are, regardless of the fact that I know you, you are a subject matter expert. You are an exemplar in your field, and you're definitely an artist that's not only putting on for the market and leaving her mark all over the city, literally on buildings, but also helping other artists grow and become full-blown professionals that you've molded, in many ways and helped and grow. So first of all, we're calling this one the business of art and the power of no. The last part of that title is such a Keiona Clark statement because she's someone that through trial and fire and testimony understands how to wield no and when not to. And I think that's really appropriate because as we all know as artists, a lot of us have a people pleasing complex because we see beauty and creativity, but we have to know when to scale it back, or if not, other things can happen that are adverse to the creative process. So first, Keiona, what made you want to be an artist and when did you start doing art?
Look, I know a lot of people heard this story before, so I'll give you the quick version of it. Born with the talent, passed on from my father, um, breast cancer survivor. After surviving cancer, realized I had this talent. I realized I knew I had the talent, but remembered that I had the talent because I kind of lay dormant for some years, and then was like, the Lord, good Lord, could have taken me off this earth, and I've never got a chance to use my talent. Um, Started doing art just as a kind of a stress reliever, I guess you could say, art therapy. My friends were like, you should sell your stuff. Cancer, thought about selling my house. Check the master plan, which you all should do too, by the way. Let's talk about the power of master plans. But anyway, and it said I lived in the arts district. The area was going to thrive in the next 5 years. And I took my house off the market and I was like, I'm an artist. I live in the arts district and I'm not even involved. Started volunteering for Gateway CDC, met Miss Darden Lee, and who we all love. And from there, I just kind of went. I mean, being an artist was separate, but being involved in the community and networking and meeting people was part of my introduction to and my tenure with Gateway CDC.
Awesome. So what led you to founding the DMV League of Artists? Because we all know most artists, the profession lends to being a little more selfish in your endeavors, right? You're a creative, you want the world to see your work, you're going to keep creating, but you've decided to not only create, but also incubate creatives and help them understand the business of art. What made you want to do that extra step beyond just being an artist?
I kind of went backwards, I guess. Well, in my definition of backwards, because I started out already established in life. I was already a professional, already on my home, already had a solid job. You know how people always say, I left my 6-figure job to do my passion. And I was like, no, I can do both. You know what I mean? So I literally already had new business, new project management, was used to doing that type of stuff at work. So by the time I came into Gateway, I started meeting other artists and realized there was a need for the education of and maybe great minds thinking alike and everybody uniting. And if I'm not saying I know everything, but somebody else may know something I don't, and then we just kind of learn from each other. So when I was working with Gateway CDC, I was asked to help with open studio tours, and there was there was some politics going on. We'll leave that alone. But so I was asked to provide art, my artwork, and then hang it up in the lab. And then next thing you know, I think less than 24 hours, they asked me to fill up like 4 buildings with art. And that's actually
Wow.
when you and I met each other for the most part, I think. That was when we kind of, yeah, met each other. And from there, like I had a week. And like in 1 week, I somehow managed to fill up all 5 of those buildings with artists. So because I did that, Gateway basically was like, you need to add curator to your job, basically your resume. And it was like, because, well, in our case, your CV, they were like, because you curated the hell out of this, part of my language. I don't know if that's a bad word. And then the artists
You
respected me.
did curate the hell out of that.
You know what I'm saying? So then the artists respected me because I literally managed to get them all in place. It was professional. They were like, if you ever need us to do anything or work with you or anything, like we're down. It was so professional, it was so organized. And then I just like all of a sudden got this reputation with the artists that, as a curator, that I'm easy to work with. So that's basically what started it. And then we had an opportunity. Gateway had a free booth at the Harlem Fine Art Show. And then, of course, me, I'm still kind of new to this. I don't really know what that is. So I'm like telling people, they're like, I always want to do it. I always want to do it. So I ended up bringing these artists with me. I meet Deion Clark. We go there. We've got this tiny little booth. And I'm like, oh my God, I promised like 10 people that they can come with me because I'm thinking each person hang up something. I'm like, there's not enough room. So next thing you know, like, again, had like a couple of days. I ended up hustling. I got like some sponsors. We ended up, by the end of that, we had one booth. By the end of that, and those booths are $2,500 a piece. So I ended up talking to Deion, like again, networking, doing whatever, doing my hustle, and everybody ended up having their own space. And then each artist paid like $200. So then we got there, same thing. Like I had like a cooler, we had drinks, everybody was helping each other. And then other artists was, oh, sorry, they were like, you have to come up with a name for your group. And I
Okay.
was like the Extraordinary League of Artists, and they said the name, the sign is sorry, the name is too long for the sign because I like that movie, The Extraordinary League of Gentlemen. Remember, all of the superheroes got
Right.
together, so that
Okay.
was always my thing. And then she was like, "Well, you have to, think of something shorter." And so I remember calling my brother. He's like, "Name it where you live," and I was like, "Oh, DMV League of Artists." So that's how the name came. And then when I hung the sign up, people like other artists were coming, like, "How can I be in the league? Like, y'all like got y'all stuff together?" And because all of our booths look all nice and professional and stuff, and they were like, How can I be in the league?" And I'm like, "It doesn't exist. It's not really a thing." And then I
Right.
literally remember going home, and my sister was at my house that day, and I said, girl, like everybody's asking about this league thing. It might be something. And then from there, like, that's all like
Put it down.
yeah. Yeah. It literally was, it's like walking down the street and tripping. That's basically what happened. I
Mm.
tripped into something that I was like, there's a need for this, especially when you have artists coming to you saying they could use the support. And when I'm saying artists, I'm talking about people who you're looking at like,
Right.
are you serious? Yeah, because
Right.
don't forget we're talking about the Harlem Fine Art Show. So basically, a lot of the top artists, professional artists, are there.
Mm.
So I'm getting like people who have resumes coming to me. So then Gateway, I did the Black History Month event every year, and I remember again doing that, doing like send out, and everybody's putting in these applications, and we're not talking about the small, we're talking about the big guy, the big dogs.
Right. Right.
So, and then I actually also, ended up getting a reputation with the other guys at Harlem Fine Art Show again, who were the big dogs, and they would call me boss lady. I walk in there like, it's boss lady, it's boss lady, because at that point, I had established a name for myself because I'm bringing in people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I would call that the power of preparation because when the opportunity was there, you was ready for it.
Oh
Did
yeah.
you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you realize
We
that you're an art leader? I mean, did you start considering yourself a leader in the arts at that moment, or no?
I think I did. I never. I'm gonna say yes and no. Yes, because I was. No, because I didn't recognize that I was. I was just doing what I do. And then as I was doing what I do, my name was just kind of moving and moving and moving. Like I had somebody
Right.
say to me, "You just came in here and just dominated." And I'm like, but it wasn't because I was trying. I literally, because I think people who try
Right.
don't get there because they're too busy trying to chase something that they can't catch. Instead of just sitting there and being part of
Very
the
true.
moment, being into the moment, and then letting things happen organically. And that's what I did. I put my head down, I did the work, and the right people see it when you do the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Well, preparation meets opportunity, right?
Oh, oh, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then it got to the point where everybody's coming to me at that point. Like everybody's coming to me. And then, I started meeting other artists who would come to me and say, "Hey, I want to be in the league." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you da, 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 da." And then you go home and Google them names. You like literally, I'm starstruck. Like, are you serious? Like, you want to be with
Right.
And honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. My art was not at the level it is now. When I tell you that's part of my growth too, because I'm working with these heavy hitters. And if you're gonna sit on the wall beside them, you need to get your stuff together. So I started just kind of building on myself as an artist as well. Like and just they will critique my stuff. Like, yeah, and it's funny because I'll say to them like, "Please show me." They're like, "Yeah, you already got your stuff." No, I'm not gonna act like I do. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. People don't want to hear the critiques and all that. No, tell me. Yeah, I'd rather you tell me than hang myself on the wall and I'm looking stupid. And then, like I said, I gotta sit myself sitting beside yours. Come on now.
Right.
So I started working on my own craft.
I really appreciate that honesty and that vulnerability right there, because I think a lot of folks probably looking from the outside or even within the community probably look at you as a born leader in the art world. And even you as a born artist that probably had it figured out. So you even saying that gives them an understanding that you felt a growth point even while they were watching you and thought you were already there. So I think that's amazing. And that leads me into the power of a master plan. I mean, what was your master plan, if you wouldn't mind giving us a peek behind the veil?
I honestly I didn't have one. So you know how they always say if you're the smartest person in the room, you might want to leave. I don't
Absolutely.
believe in that. If I'm the smartest person in the room, guess what? It's probably in somebody in there to know something I don't.
Okay.
It doesn't make them not smart. Maybe they're just smart at what they do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I can't
I should
really
come
like.
with a subject matter expert preface with that
Thank
statement.
you. Exactly. Like, and I hate to bring my regular 9 to 5 into this, but like we deal with a lot of plumbers at my regular job, and like they'll say they're stupid, they're stupid. And I always tell them, if they put you in front of a toilet, are you gonna be able to fix a toilet? No. But just because they can't do paperwork doesn't make them stupid. They're
That's
just good
right.
at what they do.
That's
So
right.
yeah, so if you're a smart person
Shout
in the room,
out to
why
the
don't you walk
plumbers. We need you.
around? Thank you. Oh yes. Oh yes. So yeah, like I'm trying to tell you, like my thing is, if you're the smartest person in the room, walk around the room and talk to everybody because you might find a diamond in the rough that can teach you
Indeed.
something. So yeah, yeah.
Well, what should an artist take from the statement, the power of a master plan? What do you want them to learn from that statement?
So the power of the master plan is that. So okay, the whole I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my ish. And when
Oh,
I hear that
let's
one
get
more
into
time,
it. This is what I'm talking
yeah,
about. I don't like these artists. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You
thank
touched
you.
me with that one. Go ahead.
Yes, sensitivity does not make money. Okay, first of all,
Wait,
yes.
wait, 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 wait. We gotta stop right there. What? This is amazing.
I'm trying to tell you.
There was somebody in the back that couldn't say it one more time.
Sensitivity don't make money.
Erica Badu got him fooled, man. It was a
Oh
catchy
my
song.
God. If I ever met her, I'd be like, why? Why?
Yeah, and I think the sensitive was Tyrone, who she told to kick rocks.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go
Exactly.
ahead. You was flowing. My bad.
No, this is real. So
Okay.
there's artists that don't want to sell their stuff, don't want to let go of their stuff. They're sensitive about stuff. That is not business. You have to separate business from emotion. So that's part of that, the master plan. Master plan, project management, realizing that everything isn't you pulling up and putting trees and hugging trees. Like that's not what it's about. When you have a client, they have a definitive idea, they have a definitive direction, and you cannot make it about your artistic beliefs or crafts. If you're only getting commercial things, McDonald's don't like. If you say, for instance, your specialty is, I don't know, because a lot of people have it, erotic art. There you go. Because we do know some artists that do that. And they're like, I only do erotic art. Okay, but guess what? McDonald's don't want erotic art on their building. So you can't make it about what you believe. You have to basically face the client's vision. And that's hard. That's one of the hardest things for artists that, outside of me, by the way, I'll put that out there. But that's one of the hardest things for artists is that they can't separate the two. It's not about what you think, it's about what you want. So you take what they want and maybe you can put your spin on it, but it's not about you at that point.
That's
So when
right.
we're talking, and it's up to you as the artist, and when you have a project plan and you have a project, proposals and those type of things, you're also educating the client on what your limitations are and what your expectations of them are. So people don't understand that's a big component because even in my proposals and contracts, I have in there before I step up, you need to have the building primed. You need to make sure that the site is cleared. You have to make sure like you have expectations from me as well.
Mm.
So, and the fact that because we have these sensitive artists or these artists that are chasing the exposure, then they're basically just throwing up murals or projects and don't have no plan. They're getting paid pennies because they don't understand that what you're doing is actually very valuable to them. And if you tell them no, they're either going to walk away, which is fine, or guess
Right.
what? They're going to look, if they want you better, they're going to find the money.
That's right.
Oh yeah, they'll circle back. They'll circle back. And then if they tell you no, and they hire somebody else off the street, and then they'll realize if I would just pay that money, because I've seen situations where they've had to cover some stuff up.
Mm.
So I'm telling you, it's
Yeah,
real. So
yeah,
yeah,
everything you just said basically sounds like artists need to also develop the tools of a project manager.
that's what it's a project. It's
Hmm.
a project. Whenever you have a construction project, if you tell somebody you want let's not even talk about that. If you tell someone that you want them to paint your house, just roll some paint on your house. They're going to have a proposal. They're going to have a budget. They're going to have invoices. They're going to have a scope of work. They're going to have all of that. And you mean to tell me you're walking up and you're doing shadows and shades and images and you're doing way more intricate work than somebody coming up on a site and just rolling paint on it. And they're getting paid more than you are. And the consumer is willing to pay them more because they're expecting for someone to charge them $20,000 to paint the outside of their house. But then
Right.
as an artist, and let's talk about that too. When I tell you I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about my ish, and starving artists are the two things that I hate more than anything in this world. Because
Love it.
when you're starving, people treat you like you're homeless. When you see a homeless man and he asks you for money, do you give him $100 or do you give him $5 for him to get a meal? It's the
Boom.
same thing. It's the same thing. So when you're walking in acting like you're a starving artist, they're going to treat you like a starving artist and they're going to give you pennies. But when you walk up like you're a professional, they're going to treat you like a professional. So with that being said, when you basically are putting these intricate images on someone's building, they're automatically assuming you're going to take 500, 200, $300. They literally think that.
Mm.
Yeah. People come to you and say, oh, you know what? I want a mirror. I always want to, I'm going to get a mirror in my house. I'm going to give you a call. You have a card. Then you're like, you okay? And then they call you and you're just like, okay, it's going to be 10,000. I didn't know it was that much. Well, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah. But you paid, Bob the Builder $10,000 just to take a roller and be like, boop, boop, boop. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to sum this up, it sounds like artists also need to know their worth and be prepared to defend their worth by not being starving artists.
Exactly. And like again, educating the customer because a lot of times they don't know what goes into it because they're so used to artists just jumping on the first thing smoking and they don't know anything different.
Mhm.
And the starving artist thing in their mind, they're doing you a favor because you're out here struggling, you don't make any money any other kind of way, and then they're just trying to help you. You know what I mean? So you have to educate them and say, hey, you have to realize you're hiring me to put this artwork on your building. I have to rent a lift, I have to go up and down a ladder. I have to buy paint. A lot of times they want free murals, and you're telling them in a minute, like, do you realize I have to pay for it, right? So I've said this to someone before.
Right.
Make this make sense. I have to basically spend money to give you a free mural. And she said, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. I said, yeah, it's paint. You have this big tall building, so you're expecting me to rent a lift and fund it because you're giving me an opportunity for exposure. That doesn't make sense. And I told her, I'm obviously already exposed because you found me.
Mm.
He said, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, yes, you have to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of value here that I think artists need to come to terms with. So number one, project management skills, and what you just defined was completely about consultation, which is educating the client. So let me ask you a
Exactly.
question. Is that too much for most artists to develop those skills, or should they try to find, I'm going to say, advocacy groups like the DMV League where they could get those services if you indeed offer those services?
Look, you're just so awesome. You're in my brain. But yes, that is what organizations like the DMV League of Artists does for artists, is that, as far as project man, if you don't have those skills and you have the talent and you just want to be an artist, because you know how many artists say art, and I used to say the same thing, I just want to be an artist. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, because they don't want to deal with all of the logistics and the paperwork and all of that. And that's one of the things that we have offered, is that we'll do the project management portion. But let me tell you what the issue with some of that is. So when you're talking about non-professional artists, when I say non-professional artists, I'm not taking away from anybody, but then when I say non-professional, I mean those who don't understand that is bigger than the art, that there is a business side. So the professional ones, so the ones that understand the business sides are the ones that I'm talking about. So the professional artist recognizes that, because they've gone and done paperwork and proposals, and some of them apply for grants, and they understand what goes into it. Those are the people that come to you in a minute and say, hey, if you do that part for me, I'm good. Like, take a percentage. But then you have the ones who are non-professionals, don't understand the business side, and they're looking at you like, how are you getting money from it? Okay, so I'm supposed to be doing all of your project management, all of your administrative work, and you think I'm supposed to do that for free, or someone's supposed to do that for free? So,
Wow.
and again, if it's not there, as far as the league goes, me, sometimes my heart is bigger than the pen. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not about the money for me. It's about educating artists and getting them to understand, and maybe teaching them. I've shared proposals with people, which sometimes ends up being a mistake. But again, you live and you learn, because
Right.
because sometimes people are taking instead of them taking it and use it as a template and learning, they will literally take exactly what you have and then put their name on it. So I've had that happen a couple of times, and I've been contacted, because it's a small area, and I know a lot of people who have called me and been like, this looks like your stuff. So the whole purpose is for you to basically learn from it, create your own, and I'm here to guide you. And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the business of art and entertainment are the only industries where the facilitator or manager is looked at as a potentially bad person for wanting to get paid for their work.
Yeah.
What's
So
up with
I always
that
tell
one? What
people,
is that? What's that about?
look, look, I don't want to turn this into religion, but Jesus was hung on a cross. Come on now. Like, that's what people do. Like, they don't understand. Like, they can't receive it. Like, in their mind, let me tell you something. There's a lot of hustlers in this area too, by the way. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk.
So some of it is just shell shock. So they just can't believe that you're actually trying to help them, that you're trying to get something from them. And then when they realize, those who know me realize that that's not what I'm out to do. I've never
Right.
have been.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then of course, there's situations where I learn as I go as well. So sometimes it's not about that. And I know I always say, when the streets are talking, listen. So there's times where the streets talk, and then you've dealt with people directly who are not that honest. And then when you pass that on to somebody else, they're so caught up in, trying to get the opportunities, and they think that somehow you're trying to hide or keep something from them. And when I tell you, I'm gonna say, I might, maybe it's a 1%. I'm 99% of the time, they always come back and say, I should listen to you. Were right. I try to tell
That's
you.
right.
Yeah,
That's
because
right.
I'm a female, so they automatically assume that this is, you're trying to be dramatic and messy. No, again, I can separate the personal from the business. I can love on you and tell you you're an awesome person, but when it comes to doing business with you, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I
that's
always do
person.
the example, if art was sports, there's a reason why the star has a coach.
Yeah.
Don't
I
work for
know.
free. I mean, you could have altruism all you want and want to see the coach, want to see the player become great, but the
Thank
coach
you.
can work to make you great. I mean, there's a lot that's involved with that, and also artists have opinions that coaches might have to debunk,
Yeah, exactly. And
unproven
guess
theories.
what?
You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you. And I'm a coach. And guess what? There's no I in team. So when you start trying to dunk the ball, and everybody else is trying to support you, and you're just trying to dunk the ball, that's a problem. And there's a
Big.
lot of stuff that happens, that's what happens here. Like, there's a whole lot of people trying to dunk and alley oop the ball, and they don't
Mm.
understand. And then they also don't understand. So there's also there's like a clout that everybody is looking for. And again, I'm just being realistic. I don't want to make it like I'm being extra. I'm really not. Like, this is how this area, I'm not gonna say this area because that's all I know is this area. So I'm sure it's like that everywhere, but I can only speak about what my experiences have been. Whereas, you know, people forget to, like, let's talk about that. Gateway. We're sitting here, Gateway's logo is on here, Park and Planning logo is on here, because we know that basically if it wasn't for this support, then we may not be having this conversation.
That's right.
So if I was to take this link and post it on my page and I X'd out those logos, no one ever knows that they were the reason why I did this. That happens a lot, where it's like you just can't admit to the world that you had support. You're out here trying to prove to somebody that you've done it all on your own, and you really haven't. So
That's right.
yeah, so that's happened a lot, where it's like no one wants to admit where the source is for some reason. But now understanding that if people know who the source is, they're not dealing with you because of you. They're dealing with you because they have a relationship with this entity. So when you basically are out here running around, guess what? That could have been another opportunity that could have come to you, because they're not dealing with you. They're dealing with me. Their relationship is with me.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
You know, it's interesting when you mentioned the word cloud. I immediately thought of two examples, two people that work together, but to me were like polar opposites, and that would be Basquiat and Warhol. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like the way people look at Basquiat as a legend and as an icon now is not something that he anticipated before he died. But when you look at Andy Warhol, he wanted that, which is why he has pop art. Everything about his style was commercialization. Whereas Basquiat was underground, and the acceptance probably came probably more as a shock. And then I think if he was alive today, he would be surprised at how beloved and how prized his artwork is. But when it comes to the world of clout chasing or just art in general, do you think for most artists it's more about wanting to be a Basquiat with a Warhol aesthetic? When I say aesthetic, I don't mean the look of the painting. I mean they want commercialization, but they want to look like they don't.
So it's funny you say that, because look, that's kind of go back who we're talking about. Look, that's why I love you. So the reason why Basquiat is Basquiat is because Warhol promoted him. Basquiat wouldn't be Basquiat if Warhol didn't take him under his wing and introduce him to the masses.
That's
So
right.
let's talk about that. And that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So the DMV League would be Warhol. And then some of the artists would be Basquiat. Because when Basquiat went out here and basically soared, he acted like he never needed Warhol in the first place. When he yeah.
True.
Warhol used to be out to eat, and Basquiat would come in there with stuff on a napkin and be like, look, 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 look. And he took him under his wing and introduced him to the world, put him in the right rooms with the right people. That's how it works. But then when they go off and they become famous, my thing is, I don't have a problem with lifting you up higher than me. I don't. Just come back and get me. And if you don't, guess what? I'm okay with that too, because I can say, listen, I'm the reason. I'm not the reason, but I had something to do with that success. Like the basketball coach you just talked about. Whenever you have a basketball coach in the high school and that player goes off to play for the NFL, that coach is like, I had something to do with that. Yeah. How many teachers have you had that you've gone back and been like, I wish I could find Miss, and mine was Miss Porter. I wish I could go find Miss Porter so I can go tell her how she basically contributed to, and when I was young, she encouraged me. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with saying that. So yeah,
Yeah, I was going to ask you too, like, who are your mentors for you to develop? Because I mean, once you told me your origin story into creating the league, it sounded like you didn't have a formal foundation of being this art leader or having this art business plan at scale for other people to replicate. So at what point, or who taught you or showed you the ways to kind of get to this point where you have a complete formula now?
So let me just say this. I have learned as I've gone through my experiences, but if I have to give somebody their props, it would be Michelle. So I have and I still have the problem now. I refuse. I know the light. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get out of this light, but I have a problem with accepting who I am in this space sometimes, because I'm just, again, I'm gonna say it again. I do what I do because I'm good at it. It's my niche. Everybody has their little things that they do, and so and everything else has come around from. Sorry, has come from that. Has
Is
been
this like imposter syndrome or just humility?
humility. Yes, it's not imposter syndrome. Yeah, I'm just a humble person. Like I get up every day. Everything that I have and I do is because I just have a standard.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just have a standard for myself, not necessarily to impress anybody else. I really don't. Like even when I get up and get dressed in the morning, I just like to look in the mirror and be like, okay, what I'm saying, I have good taste in whatever clothes, cars, homes, whatever. But I don't do it for the attention. So it's kind of like what happened with this. I'm just a giving person. It warms my heart to know that I made somebody's day, week, life. If I can contribute, and because if I have it, I want to share it with you. Now, let me tell
Right.
you something. You cross me, yeah. My mother calls me sugar bear. She says because I'm like she said I'm sweet as sugar. She said, but when you make me mad, I'm like a grizzly bear. So that's a very true statement. So, Michelle was a big part of. She'll tell me all the time like you need to. That's her favorite word. I'm sure you heard her. You need to sit in it. You need to sit in it. So yeah, she's told me, she's like, you need to know who you are in this space. Like you need to embrace it. She's done that. Even when I had my little moments where I would, kind of be like, oh, she would be like, you done? You finished? So yeah, I like when I tell you I remind her of that all the time. I remember she said to me one day, I was like, yeah, and then I did this, and then I did that, and people don't appreciate this and appreciate that, and she was like, you done? And I'm looking at her like, and she was like, nobody asked you to do all that. She said, you choose to do extra because again, I have a standard. She's
Right.
like, that's something that you choose to do. She was like, but you can't be mad at other people because you chose to do more than it was expected. And then she
True.
said, that's when you need to have agreements.
Hmm.
Yeah, her head be doing this.
Right. Right.
And I was just like, okay. And it's so funny because like when I look at her like I just literally be looking at her like this, and she would like, "You look like you're upset." I'm like, "No, I'm just soaking it in." And then maybe I'll leave and like we'll meet like a week later, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I have this, this, and that." And she's like, "Oh my God, Kelly, you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I listen to you. I literally just now I learned, and it's hard to find people that can actually listen to someone else's advice and to step back and just kind of think about, you know what, she's right, and everybody can't do that. See,
True.
or either you can tell someone and they'll be like, "Whatever, you don't think I did?" They get all defensive. You're just like, "Whoa, slow down, not yeah." Look, I always tell
I'm
people,
not
"I'm gonna
coming for
give you,
you.
thank you." Like I always tell them, "I'm gonna give you seeds. Either you can plant them or let them grow, but you can just
Right.
throw them in trash if you want." But but if I've been there and done that, yeah, really, I'm 52 years old, and a lot of people that I did, and I look a little younger. So I'm told. I'm supposed to say that.
Hey.
But some people think that I'm younger than I am, and so they looking at me like, and I'm looking at them like I've been there, done that. Like I'm not gonna sit here and give you advice about something that I haven't experienced myself.
Right.
So yeah, kind of like when you're a child, and your parents tell you all this stuff, and you're like, they don't know what they're talking about, and then you become an adult, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I understand now.
Absolutely.
So, hmm so yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this kind of blends right into my next question, which is knowing your rights. I mean, put artists on. You discussed boundaries and having a standard, and I think that's very important. But to your point, because of either the starving artist shtick or whatever, there are a lot of folks that either haven't established boundaries or break them willingly to get to the next, what they think will be the next level. But talk a little bit about what does it mean for artists to know their rights?
Okay, so back to the power of no. There is, like, when I tell you that's not a bad word, you're allowed to say no to somebody. If you don't feel it's comfortable, if you don't feel it's not worth your time, then basically you need to start telling them no. So knowing your rights is part of that. So there is a act called the Vera Act. So it's the Visual Artist Rights Act. And I think it was established in 1990. I used to know by memory, but my brain kind of sometimes be going a little crazy. But they'll quote me on the year. But It's called the Vera Act. So the
Okay.
Vera Act basically gives artists rights to the images of their work for visual artists. Let me just say that. It's sculptural, same thing. It's like all art. So say for instance, um, you did an installation. Oh, I'll give you a prime example. Okay, say for instance, you know the guy at Haynes Point that used to have the arm out the ground and all of that?
Yes.
Yes. So remember they relocated to National Harbor?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is an example I came up with myself. So I'm just gonna put that out there for anybody like, that don't make sense. It makes sense to me. Okay.
Okay.
So imagine if they moved that from Haynes Point to the National Harbor and the arm was where the leg was and the leg was where the arm was. So at that point, whoever originally created that, they have to put it back the way that the person envisioned it or created it, because at that point,
Right.
you're basically disrespecting their rights, and they can sue you because
Absolutely.
you didn't build it back the way it was originally. So, for instance, say for instance, I have canvas work. If I sell you my canvas work, you own the canvas work, but you don't own the image. So if I sold you my piece and you were a collector, you can sell, like, artists always say, they bought it for 500 and sold it for 5 million, because at that point your name went up. The collectors are the reason why a lot of times these artists become so valuable, because they're trading and selling their work. So you may have sold it for 500 and they sold it for 1 million, but they can never duplicate it. They can pass that piece on. But if they ever were to make t-shirts or copies or prints or something like that, you can sue because you never gave them the rights to the image.
Got it.
So yeah, so a lot of people don't understand that. And when it comes to public art and murals, it's the same thing. So like I can technically, so I know the rights, but I'm not the type of person I'm gonna go to you and sue you and be like, you painted over my mural, I'm suing you. But you technically can do that. But what I do is in my contracts, I actually write my contracts. If the mural was to be vandalized, that you have to hire me to fix it. Like you can't hire another artist to fix my work. Because again, they don't know. So it's up to us to educate them. Also have it written, and because I'm never going to sue somebody because they painted over stuff. So just for education purposes, I have in my contract that if there's a real estate sale and the new owners wanted to cover it, then they can do that without retribution, I guess you could say. Yeah. So, or penalty. So I add that in my contract. And part of that is, again, I'm never going to sue them, but I feel like it also educates them so that way they know that I have rights as well.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, you're basically letting folks know too. You have to have a team. I mean, you have to have contingency plans, people on your team that remember these kind of things, clauses, advice, advisors.
Exactly. There was a group of artists in your neck of the woods, NYC, and it's actually an article about it. So if you looked it up, you can find it. But that's the VARE Act protected them. So there was a bill, and please again, don't quote me on this, but this is the part of the story that my version of it. So there were some artists that sort of it was a real estate owner. It's a guy owned this real estate building, and it was no one in it, no one occupied it. So he allowed the local artists, graffiti artists, to paint all over this building. So like the building was literally marked up. So he sold the building, and the new owner covered everybody's work and painted over it white. They sued under the VARE Act, and they won. Wow. It was like $40 million, something like that. So all of the artists literally got paid, even though they owned the rights to the images, and it was destroyed without them being notified. They said had they notified the artists, because that would have gave enough time to come take images, photos, or whatever they needed to do to document or archive or whatever case you want to call it, their work, and they won.
Wow.
They won. Oh yeah, because they owned the rights to the images and they were destroyed. I said, "Dang, look, I wish I was in New York. I'd put a little star on there and be like, can I get my percentage, please? My star is important to me." But yeah.
Best example you could ever give. Knowing your rights got them millions.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And even, the fact that, okay, this is another situation, but I don't want to drop that. So it was a famous sports team. We're going to leave it at that. And there's a bunch of artists that put some stuff in the stadium. And I was one of the artists that was part of that team. And I was the only artist that told them no. So the first thing they said to me was, "Oh, well, that's good exposure for you because your stuff is going to be in the stadium." But the difference is that my work was graphic work. And so I told them, I was like, and I had a whole look. I'm the only person that did all of this. Again, everybody's like, "I'll count your extra." This is not extra, okay? But they actually had their attorneys on a Zoom meeting with me, and they said, "This is good exposure for you." And I said the same thing. I'm already exposed. Y'all basically found me. A and B, I'm giving you graphic work,
Right.
which
Right.
means you can make t-shirts, all of
Right.
that. So even if you don't want to pay me for the actual, work because you're giving me exposure, I'll accept that. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to basically take my images and you need to purchase the rights from me
Boom.
because I don't trust it. And they were just like, well, we don't not interested. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not either. And I'm
That's right.
still part of the thread. So like they're like, hey guys, we're still looking for, and they're just doing this stuff willy-nilly free. No. And it
Mm.
doesn't get you anywhere. And that's the other thing too. Like people think that those opportunities are going to get you something that it's not going to get you. Just like celebrities. Like a lot of artists give their stuff to, or post their stuff and a celebrity be like, oh wow, that's nice. But they're not paying for it. Yeah. Or maybe Erica Baidu posts you on her page.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah,
These
yeah.
sound like cheap thrills for you.
Look, Frito Lay, Dorito, Capital One, they pay way more than Erica Baidu does.
I know that's
Sorry,
right.
look, I keep talking about Erica Baidu. I'm sorry, Erica.
Yeah.
I need to use a different celebrity as an
Nah,
example.
it's
That's
all
the
good.
second Erica Badu quote. Sorry, Erica. Yeah,
I
but
mean, it
no.
makes sense though. It makes sense.
Yeah, well, on the way here, she was on the radio doing an interview. I think that's why she's in my brain. And plus, the
Oh, okay.
sensitive artist thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm glad you said that because these images can become iconic or go quote unquote viral without your knowledge, just because it might resonate with the audience. And then to your point, because you've already given up your rights just by omission, by not having the conversation, they can take that and do whatever they want with it. Now it
Oh
becomes
yeah.
something that's a symbol. And then what? You just get props, but no cash flow from that. Like that's
Thank you.
travesty.
Thank you.
Um,
And the thing about it is that sometimes it's not even malicious. It's just they're not educated. It's not
exactly.
educated.
So
But you would
what you're
think
talking about, is this called licensing?
it wouldn't be licensed. I don't think it would be licensing because it's not like normally when you do a license something, you're licensing well, I don't even want, I'm not going to say that because I don't know, but no, it's not licensing. It's just because there's nothing to license because you already have the right to it. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Like
Yeah.
you gave birth to your child. You're not going to license your child. You created your child. So
Got
that's your creation. That's your
okay.
intellectual property.
IP. Got it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it firmly. I mean, you kind of gave us some understanding, but the power of no, why is this so important? When do you know to start this? What is the recognition of it? And is it something that can ostracize your growth if you use it too early?
No, because you have to know your worth. If you know your worth, the power of no is easy. Like I know what I'm worth. I know that I'm a professional. I know that you're going to walk away with a good product because I know that when I put that artwork on that wall or on that canvas, you're not even going to realize if there is a mistake, but I will.
Right.
Like that's how serious I am about. Maybe the sensitive artist thing is okay. I don't know if you use it like that because I'm not going to ever walk away with something with my name on it and it's not done correctly. But
Mm,
those who hire me to do work will understand that that's how I am. That's part of, they don't have to know that about me, but they know that the product is good. The experience was very professional. Again, when you having proposals and understandings, like there's been times where someone has said to me, you did XYZ. Then guess what? There's no argument when I pull out that contract and say that wasn't part of the contract.
right.
So yeah, there's situations where sometimes like a company will hire you to put a mural on the wall. And I've actually got on other artists about this. I'm like, they're only paying you. So I'm just gonna just throw, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, please know that.
Sure.
But situation where an artist like it's putting up a mural and then they're paying them $5,000 for like this huge wall. And then the customer say, okay, well, we want you to put anti-graffiti paint on this wall and then we want, they want all of this stuff. And then you're just like, now I know people do it. I'm like, that's not enough money because by the time you do all of that, you're not making a profit. So I've had this conversation on many occasions because that happens a lot. Now, when I do work like that and they say we want anti-graffiti on the wall, I always tell them that's not part of the agreement. And my agreement says that's an additional cost. But at that point, I don't want to do it because you have to wait for the paint. They don't educate themselves on anti-graffiti paint. So there's
Right.
different types. There's like the marine type that basically is like a clear gloss. There's another type, and I actually have a whole write up. Whenever they ask for it, I can send to them. But it's like it puts like a jelly type material over top of it, but you have to
Oh, okay.
replace that over here, so you have to scrape that stuff off, and sometimes the elements can get behind it and it turns yellow. So then it
Mm,
doesn't look good anymore. So you got to scrape that stuff off. So you have to educate them on a different type of anti-graffiti. So, and then once you do that, you tell them, listen, I'm not going to be up there waiting for it to cure, doing a whole nother level, all of that. So this is what's going to cost you. At that point, I'm going to contract somebody to do that.
hmm.
But that's just me. You know what I mean? But as far
Right.
as they don't think about that because in their mind, they're paying you pennies. And then when you're, again, power of no. If you're telling them, they're telling you they want anti-graffiti, it's up to you to tell them that's not what you're paid for. Anti-graffiti is extra, but they'll actually do it.
Right.
Yeah, and then guess what? You're because there wasn't enough money in there, you're not going to buy the best anti-graffiti products.
That's right.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're looking bad because for 2 years from now, they're just like, can you believe he put that up there? No, So I always tell them you either get a contractor to do that separate of me, or you have to pay additional, and I'm going to hire a contractor to do it right.
Nice.
Yeah, because again, we're not construction workers. We are when it comes to the work, the category of work, but I'm not a contractor.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
an
I love it. I
artist.
mean, you're letting the client know, and this goes back to your consultation component for the client. You cannot bundle
Mhm.
services. Everything has its own specific line item. So otherwise known as a finesse, it ain't
Thank
happening.
you.
You on the
Thank
job.
you. And it's lessons learned. And you'd be surprised. The fact that you don't have a problem with telling them no, and the fact that you do educate them, they look at you as a professional at that point.
Boom.
There's people I have circled back and they'll say in a minute, oh, Keiona, we know you don't play like that. So we want to make sure that we have this right. We have, like, they'll do that to me because I let them know like, no, that's not how this works. So
Right.
I had another situation where was on this project with some other artists, and I was the one that was like, this wasn't right. This wasn't right. This wasn't right. And they were just like, this is exactly what was said to me. I mean, excuse me, but we're just happy to have the opportunity. And I said to them, okay, listen, you can be as happy as you want. I said, but you have to understand if we don't speak up, the next group that comes after us, they're going to think that this is okay. And it's not okay
Right.
with me. So if y'all want to deal with that, that is fine. So when I tell you, we were on a Zoom call. So you always got to have a lessons learned or have you a post project meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's when you start telling them the issues that you have and the things that could have been done better. And whenever that happens, the first thing they say, well, Keon, we so sorry. We are so sorry. We apologize. And then guess what they said? If you ever, when next thing we have, we will be the first person we call and we will make this up. And then the
Boom.
other 2 hours, it's like, oh, I had a problem too. It's too late. It's too late.
Right.
And then guess what? That was the only person that was called when they did it again. Because at that point, I showed them that I was a professional. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yes.
Well, we've definitely landed to our last topic, which, as much as it is advice, it sounds more like responsibility, which is recognizing professionalism. And I want to say that's probably on the behalf of the client, recognizing the professionalism in an artist, which would allow you, I'm assuming, to know your rights or recognition of you knowing your rights. But
Yeah.
what do you want that statement to mean for the artist and for the client?
So I want that to mean so basically professionalism is what gets you more work because that client's always going to hire you back. They're going to talk about you. They know they can trust you on their site because you got to realize, you're talking about outside. Like I've seen artists spill paint on a pavement. When I tell you, when the DMVD or Keiona Clark does a project, there is not a speck of paint on the sidewalk, the pavement, it's outside of the wall itself. When I tell you, I'll be out there on my hands and knees, and now I got a bad back, and I will literally be scrubbing if something gets. So it's those type of things that people don't understand. That just being a professional can get you a long way. Even mural sites, some artists like to partake, because they're artists and they think that this creativity. Get in your car, drive down the street, and do that because the smell lingers. There's times when we're at projects and that the commissioners, mayors, council members literally
Right.
pull up on you.
That's
The
right.
deputy mayor, I've done projects in DC, and the deputy mayor of DC just pulled up and just start talking to you and stuff. Press comes sometimes. One of the press will just walk up to you and want to interview you. So it's like those type of things when you have to just keep in mind that even though you're out there and you're painting and all that, you're still a professional brand,
That's right.
and you have to represent yourself that way. So yeah, it's up to you to educate. And again, professionalism is part of educating them. And then when they see that you know what you're talking about, they're okay with no, because they know that you're the expert.
That's right.
Hmm. You
No,
can't
I
let
love
them
it.
call the shots. It's called a
Yeah,
partnership and an agreement. Your client is still your partnership because they're the owner of that facility or that building or that space. So
that's
that's
right.
what the agreement is what you expect from them and what they expect from you. It's a mutual contract, so that way everybody walks away whole. They get a
Mm,
beautiful product, and you basically deliver. It's called deliverables. There you go.
that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, this has definitely been a mini masterclass for artists that if they didn't know, now they do know. I think you dropped some really amazing gems and jewels. What's the last thing you want artists to take away from this whole conversation?
That you're a professional. You're not just an artist. You're a business. You're a brand. Yeah, it gets you far when you do it correctly. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being an artist, but again, you have to remember you're still a professional entity, and if that's the way you feed your family, then that's the way you feed your family. And I guess what you said, what the consumer knows that artists have children, they own homes, they have car notes. People forget that sometimes. Yeah, we are
That's
part
right.
of society. And
That's
in
right.
order for us to do this full time, we have to be supported and understand that again, we're a business, but artists also have to understand that they're a business because people don't take us serious when we are out here just, LARPing through the woods. Yeah, that's a true statement. I'm trying to tell you that we get marginalized because people assume that, again, we're starving. But guess what? The McDonald's logo was created by an artist.
That's right.
The I don't know, Wendy's, the little Wendy's girl was created by an artist. How many rappers and album covers and CD covers? I'm old, sorry, I know they don't have them anymore, but
I missed the
it's
CD
all
cover. That was art for sure.
you know what I'm trying to tell you.
Real
But
talk.
yeah, all of that is done by an artist, and we're not taken serious when we don't take ourselves serious. Oh
Hmm.
look, that was a bar, wasn't it?
That
Yes.
definitely was a bar.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Two quotes come to mind. One, however you feel about the guy, I like what he said. Kanye West once said, artists need CEOs. Now, whether you're the CEO or you have somebody on your team that plays that position, I thought that was a poignant statement. And the second would be from Jay-Z, a lyric where he said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
Thank you.
All of that is
Exactly. You
definitely
look, you better
wrapped
preach.
up in what we're saying here. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
on the same page.
Yeah. And knowing your strengths and weaknesses, because I'm sitting here telling you about the business and the proposals and all that stuff. But guess what? I'm not good. I'm not the marketing genius. Somebody like you would be a marketing genius. So me to recognize that that's just not what I'm
Thank
good
you.
at,
Thank you.
and I have to bring somebody in to take care of that. Like that's a big thing too. Guess what? I'm an artist. I'm good at proposals and business, and I can create a budget. But guess
That's right.
what? Getting the taxes together, the accounting together, and all of that stuff—that's not my forte. So guess what? I'm gonna get somebody else to do that. So
Team makes the
recognizing
dream
that
work.
too. And if project management is not your thing, that's fine. That's why you have organizations like the league or either finding someone that's good at that type of thing and get them to do that for you. And guess what? Slide them some cash. Because guess what?
Right.
By the time you make $50,000 off a project, if I made $50,000 off a project and you
Right.
told me you wanted 10% of that, that's $5,000. I'm still walking away with whatever 50. Look, my brain hurts right now. Okay, so 5,000 minus $50,000. What's that? $45,000. You still walk away
Yes. Yes.
$45,000. Like there's nothing wrong with paying people. And guess what? When you pay them, they're going to continue to want to service you and make sure
That's
you're
right.
okay. Oh yeah. Especially if that's
Amazing.
what they do, because they can do that like a robot. They're like, oh, you want me to do what? Okay.
That's right. And
Yeah.
even and going even further than what you're saying, if you pay them and you are the business, you've just created your own ecosystem.
Eh, Look, see, this is what I'm talking about. Yes. Yes. We all eat. We all eat. So yeah.
Man, shout out to the Gateway CDC and of course Keiona Clark, founder, CEO. DMV League of Artists. This was the business of art and the power of no, a Keiona-ism, if you will. My name is Rhett Butler. These webinars have been crushing. You stay getting blessed.